Welcome, friends, to the Scaling Therapy Practice Podcast. I'm your host, James Marland. Today, we have an inspiring episode for you that you're not going to want to miss. Because joining us today is Annette Leonard. She's an advocate for those living with chronic pain and illness, and she's become a beacon of hope and resilience. In this episode, Annette's going to share with us her incredible personal journey, which highlights her fight with chronic health conditions and her mission to empower others in similar situations. You're going to discover the transformational power of self-advocacy in the healthcare setting. We're also going to discover tips and strategies for maintaining wellness even when dealing with chronic illness. And finally, we're going to learn how Annette transformed from patient to powerhouse advocate, turning her experience into valuable resources like podcasts, courses, blogs, and other ways to support people with their chronic health journey. Stay tuned to learn from Annette and her experiences, and hopefully you'll be motivated to put your own mission in motion. Before we start the show, I wanted to talk to those DIY course creators out there, the ones that want to do it themselves. Hey, DIY course creators, are you ready to take that jump into the online course arena, but you're stuck on making some critical decisions like where to host your course, how to add content, how to collect payments? Well, I have a resource for you. On Wednesday, August 21st, from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm hosting a powerful 60-minute webinar designed just for the DIY course creators. We're diving into your course creation roadmap, 4 decisions to make before you launch. In this webinar, I'm going to walk you through 4 essential decisions you need to make before you make your course a success. We're talking about where to host your course, how to shape your course content, the best way to collect payments, and how to enroll and support your students effectively with some essential tech decisions. If you're ready to simplify the process, avoid common pitfalls, and make the best choice for your course creation, then this webinar is for you. Don't miss out on the chance to get the clarity you need when making these important decisions to launch your course and to launch it with confidence. Click the link in the show notes or go to coursecreationstudio.com, click the pop-up, and sign up for this important webinar. I want to help you get on the right course so you can launch your mission with success. Welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is your host, James Marland. This is the show where we empower mission-driven leaders to launch life-changing online courses. Today, I have a special guest, Annette Leonard, with me today. Annette has a resource and you have a podcast too, right?
I do.
Resource, podcast, courses, blog pages, all about helping people who live with chronic pain and illness. Read her bio, and she has an interesting story to share with that. But let's welcome Annette to the show. Annette, welcome.
Hey, James. Glad to be with you today.
So, as I mentioned, you do have an interesting story, your journey about how you got here, how you're trying to help people with chronic illness. It's a personal journey for you. Can you share with our audience a little bit about how you ended up trying to help people with chronic illness?
Sure. It's interesting to try to nutshell, one's life. And I will say that I had to leave the world of work about a dozen years ago because of my chronic health conditions. And um, 8 years ago, I landed on the list waiting for a double lung transplant. And there's nothing more sobering, perhaps, than being told in your early 40s that you're going to need 2 new lungs. And at that time, I was told that I had less than a year to live. And coming face to face with my mortality and living with extraordinary pain and obviously really world-altering illness um, changed the course of my life. And I'm speaking to you today with my own lungs and still rolling with factory parts. And so I have a pretty heroic story that isn't everyone's. And what is true of a life with chronic pain and chronic illness has some common threads. And so, um, in the midst of real pain and darkness, um, I found a mission about what it means to try to find wellness in our spirits and in our hearts and minds, even if our bodies may never be well again. And so that is the nexus of the work that I do.
Wow. Um, I didn't, yeah, I had read that you had some of those health issues and then, how it took you out of what you thought your life was going to be like.
Sure.
Now, and, you're, um, but that still comes with challenges, right? The chronic pain part,
Most
the chronic
definitely.
health issues,
Yeah.
which gives you an immediate connection with other people dealing with issues, chronic illness, health issues, maybe not lungs, but also just like
That's
the
right. From diabetes
different, yeah.
to arthritis. I think that what's staggering is that the statistics are that 7 in 10 people have a chronic illness, and that 5 in 10 have 2 chronic illness, have more than one. And so we are a very, pain and illness riddled society. And I think that just as many of us don't know what the challenge our neighbor is dealing with, many of us don't know the burdens that others are carrying in relation to illness and pain.
So you're on a mission to help those people. What came first? Web page, course, advocacy? Like where did you get started in all this?
Yeah. Well, so it was right after I started to gain some ground in my lung function, um, that that at the point where I went inactive on the lung transplant list, that I thought, uh, if I, to be perfectly blunt, if I'm not busy dying, then I have to get busy living. And so something shifted where I started feeling like, well, then I have a mission here. I have a message. And how do I start making change around that? And I started giving talks here and there, and my background is in training. And a friend of mine who works with speakers said, Annette, you have to start getting this message out there. And so he said, start getting on YouTube and record a video a day. And so it started with my YouTube channel where I was recording 5 and 10 minute videos 5 days a week. And then just started ripping the audio for that to turn it into my podcast. And eventually got my website and my blog up and going and started writing articles and just contacting people however I could. And really for me, it's sort of a one person at a time. If I hear from someone saying, you helped me understand that I am not my diagnosis, or you made me feel a little less alone, or showed me that my self advocacy in a doctor's appointment matters because I didn't understand that I am the expert on my illness or my body. I really was giving that power over to my physician. Um, that matters to me. That matters a lot.
Wow. That last minute could probably be a book.
Agreed.
All those life lessons like power packed right in there.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to you're sharing your mission more with more people. And we met doing a Kajabi mini course challenge. It was like this 2 week challenge. It took me a month, but it was a 2 week.
Me too.
It was a 2 week challenge where they laid out the steps of just getting it out there, like just using the program to and follow these steps and um done is better than started, or like just get your course out there. and you have a dream, you have a mission. We've been talking about mission, get it out there. So, how does a course help you and your mission?
What a great question. Shout out to our instructor. I hope I get her name right, Alessandra Wiki.
Yeah.
Uh, she really put us through the paces, and I agree that 2 weeks rapidly turned into floor for me. And I think for me, I have been a Kajabi user for 5 years, and I, behind the scenes, have 5 courses that I've never put up, in part because it's such a powerful tool. And I was sure that I was missing steps or that some part of my mechanism would be broken. And also that piece about um, I wasn't ever sure that my courses were good enough to really be putting out there. And so having this radical handholding and having each step really so thoroughly and carefully laid out for us was the boost that I needed. And for me, the courses are a natural progression of what I'm doing, are an extension of helping people get the message digested. And the first step that she had us do was pull people about what the course needed to be about. And I don't know about you, but for me, it was a bit of a surprise. I put out 4 things that I polled my audience about. Which of these 4 things should I have my first mini course about? And the answer that I got back was not the answer I expected. And um, it makes sense. I mean,
Research.
the answer
Yeah.
was how do you advocate for yourself in a doctor's appointment? How do you show up at a doctor's appointment? What do you bring with you? What do you ask? What are the nuts and bolts?
Yeah, especially, I'm just assuming with my limited experience with doctors, if you show up with the same problem time after time, they might tune you out a little bit.
For sure. And, even if it's not that, even if it's I'm going to a new specialist or in light of today's healthcare, I have 10 minutes. How do I use that?
Yeah.
So all of those things are true. All of those things.
That sounds extremely useful, and it follows some of the principle of solve one problem, and you can deliver on that promise.
That's
You
right.
can definitely somebody says, "How do I talk to my doctor in my doctor's office?" Here's a course on how to advocate for yourself in the doctor's office, get what you want without being a jerk or something, without
Yeah,
feeling bad about advocating for yourself, something like that. That
that's right.
sounds
How to just feel like you met your goals when you leave that doctor's visit, unlocking the power of that doctor's
because
visit.
you live with yourself, 24 days, 24 hours a day, and you have all these questions. And when you get in that office, you feel pressure. Like there's this pressure and fear to even say anything. So, yeah.
That's right. And I think so often we think of doctors as the authority and forget about the fact that we are living with the consequences of whatever they're suggesting and forget about our own authority in that regard. And it's easy to override our own experience or kind of black out about it when we're in those settings. And taking some time in advance and being really prepared can help us be collaborative in that setting.
Yeah. So we're talking about getting that mission out, and
Yeah.
the mini course helped us
Right.
with
So
that.
for you, James, the what was useful about being in that mini course setting? I mean, about walking through those steps in that way.
There was a lot of things useful. I think just narrowing down the subject matter because you're an expert. A lot of times, people who sign up for these things are an expert at what you do, and some of the things that are easy for you are not. You don't even list them down as possible comments because you're just, you know, uh, you're good at those things, or you've been doing it for a while, and it's just sort of part of your knowledge base. So doing the research was important, and just maybe realizing it's okay to narrow down your subject matter to, um, for me, I like to help people build online courses, but there's 3 big topics. What I found is like the mindset of the course, like the mindset of a maker, like who am I to even be a teacher? And the fear that prevents you from going outside your comfort zone. Then there was the making of it, like the audio, the video, the technical, the lighting, the programs, the email marketing, where do you host it, YouTube, all those things, AI, and then marketing is the third piece. Who's going to buy my course? Where do I find them? How do I join Facebook groups? How do I send emails to get people to take the group? How do I put it on? Do I do webinars? Do I do blogging? Do I do Google ads, things like that? And so it helped me realize I can do most of those things, but I'm better at the technical than the mindset, and the marketing I'm still figuring out, even though I've read books and I know the piece. So if there's something I'm going to help people with, it's more of the technical side of things than the marketing. And I probably could do mindset because I worked in mental health for 18 years. In fact, my mini course is on overcoming imposter syndrome and launching, just getting started. That's what I chose my mini course on. Um,
When I think about the
but
fact that I've been a Kajabi user for 5 years and not posted a course, I think there are many of us who are ready for your course.
yeah, yep. So, my first rung of my customer ladder is my podcast, like what we're doing here. We're talking about courses and mission and trying to find ways to do that. And then I have the blog that goes with that. Then the next rung might be your mindset, because the people who don't think they're a teacher or they don't think they have something to give are just going to be satisfied with the false security of that paycheck, and they're never going to break free and go to the life that they want to have. Then the next rung is the making it, and um, that's probably where the premier course is going to be, just helping people make their things, and because you're already the expert. I've had a couple conversations with people who are like, I know how to, I know my stuff, I just don't know how to get it out of my head. So that being confident to narrow my subject matter down to something that I know I can help people with has been very beneficial to me. The other part of it, though, was doing it in a group. It's easier to do things, hard things, in a group. And so, in this mini course challenge, there was a couple hundred people in it. I don't know if you noticed this, though. There was only like 20 people that finished it. Did you see that?
I did see that. There were less than yeah, as you say, there were about 20, and there were, I would say, a good, again, 20 or 30 of us who were very active in
Yes.
just really providing feedback and encouragement and checking off each other's progress
Mhm.
and cheering one another on. And for
And
me,
tips and giving tips, like, you
yeah,
were very encouraging in the group and, like, commented a lot of
as for you, the
yeah.
and just people saying, "Here's the program I use," or "Here's how
Mhm,
I add captioning," or
mhm.
"Here's what I use for editing," and all of that was uh, really helpful and encouraging to me to keep staying on task and not fall away when things got hard, or when she said, "This is going to take 30 minutes," and it took me 3 days.
I had at least 1 or 2 of those where it's like, I know I blocked out an hour for this, but I took a day to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
fun times, but we did it. Like, they're out and they're launched and people can view them. Um, what, what are some things that if somebody was going to put their own course out there, what's a lesson that you can share with them? What's one thing
Mm.
you tell them about, well, just either encouragement or a lesson or a tip you learned in the last month here with the mini course challenge?
Well, I think I share with you a belief that that we all have something of value to offer the world. And I do think that 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 it's not always what we think it is, in terms of just that polling piece being really useful to understand what others most want to know from us about what we know. I mean, I'm not saying, if you're a mechanic, start polling people about what you want to cook, but 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 narrowing the field by doing some of that polling was really valuable. And I think that where that meant I didn't keep up on the timelines was I hadn't already built curricula about that subject matter, and so I did need a little more time to do that curriculum building. And so, but I guess the second piece of that for me is that going in a group and building some structure around when you're going to get things done really matters in terms of getting things out in the world, and not just starting to procrastinate or decide that the world doesn't need that message, or decide that you can
Yeah.
do it in 2 more weeks.
Well, the one key principle for me anyways was deadline drives behavior. And every link in the challenge had a deadline. Even
Yeah,
if I missed it by a day or two, I knew, I gotta complete this to keep going. And I created a schedule for myself where I checked off every day if I was working on it or not, and
yeah,
just checked off time. And that really helped me with my behavior. The other one is Parkinson's law, where I think it's like the work expands to fill the time you give it, something like that.
yes, right.
A- And if you gave yourself a month to do it, it would fill that month. But if you
That's
give
right.
yourself 2 weeks to do
Yeah.
it, even if you miss the deadline, maybe it'll take 3 weeks to do
I
it.
think of that as the law of purses or garages. Like,
Well,
oh,
what
okay,
is that?
sorry, gonna fill
What
them.
is that?
And as Phil, the nutritionist, said in our class, like, I can always take this video down and with one that's better if I decide later. And good. Yeah, get one up and
I love the
replace
law
it
of
later if you need
purses,
to.
though. The law of purses in garages or closets. Like,
Right?
your closet's gonna fill, like, it'll be whatever junk you have, you're gonna fill that
That's right. Whatever
closet up.
size it is, rest assured you will find enough stuff to put in it.
That's perfect. That's lovely. So, let's start wrapping up with where can people find you? What's your course about? What's your podcast about? I'm sure there's people that would want to know more. So tell us what's the easiest way to find you and what are you offering?
Excellent. Well, you can find links to everything I do at AnnetteLeonard.com. The podcast is called Chronic Wellness, and it's on all the places you can find podcasts, and it's also a visual podcast on YouTube. And the courses are also there at AnnetteLeonard.com. If you do AnnetteLeonard.com/waitlist, you can get in on being one of the folks who gets in on the free offering of my mini course available through the end of summer. So if you get in before the end of August, you can take that course on how to unlock the power of your next doctor's appointment for free. And I'd love it if you join me there. And and really, my mission is to help find people who need this. So if it's not you who need this and you're listening, like if you're hearing my voice and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I have a girlfriend," or "My friend's dad just got diagnosed," the my podcast is less than 10 minutes long, and part of the name chronic wellness is not about some sense of false positivity that we never feel ill or we never succumb or that our illness never overtakes us, but the my my mom knew the words to most of the books, most of the Methodist hymnal growing up, and when I was at the height of my illness, the words of the hymn, "It is well with my soul," came to me, and so the notion that whether or not our bodies are well, our minds or spirits can gravitate toward wellness is really what the heart of the podcast and the platform is about for me. How can we find wellness in the midst of illness?
Well said. Well said. Really, Annette, this was wonderful. Thanks for being a great supporter during the mini course and also just being an awesome guest. Thanks so much.
Well, to you too. I so appreciate this opportunity and the chance to get to know you better. I appreciate that so much, James.
Thanks everyone for listening to the show. I hope you visit Annette and her webpage and get the subscribe to her YouTube and podcast. It'd be a really big encouragement to her for that, and also just help give you more resources for being well. Thanks again for listening, and go put your mission in motion.